Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Monday, May 27th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card we are starting our day off with is the Three of Wands. Not surprised to see this. What have we been explaining has been happening recently with it coming into this Gemini season? The best way I can articulate it, I'm going to describe it like this. I want you to imagine like Taurus season was like going up the mountain. A lot of that determination of pathwork, a lot of that resilience that was potentially necessary, a lot of the breakthroughs that may have been experienced, those insights from the Scorpio full moon. They felt like a little bit of that rough going because that's that implementation of moving something in the direction of the clarification of what you may have felt like you were energetically receiving. Now we see that moment coming into the Gemini season with the additional added advantage point of the Sagittarius full moon. It's feeling more like that sense of like moving quickly down something. So a lot of that expediting feeling that is occurring right now. And a lot of that is being amplified in perspective. Masculine and feminine energy right now, deep in the heart of the divine union frequency. Why did you do all of this work? Why were you going through that pathwork of introspection? Why were you doing that work to face something that you may have felt like you weren't ready to face prior to this time? Because the vantage point of the perspective that you have reached on your own healing journey is allowing you to be able to look back on things and see something with a higher degree of insight, with a higher degree of clarity. What's really lovely when we reach those moments in our own journey, it's not even that we have to necessarily go forward, because that ability of being able to look back and see something from a different vantage point, it may be creating specifically for a lot of the energy right now, deep in the heart of the divine union frequency, a lot of that feeling of energetic clarity and stillness, that moment of almost energetic peace that we reach that is allowing for the facilitation of healing from something from the past in a different way. And there are many different ways that we heal. But one of the ways that can be very fundamental to our own healing journey, especially as it relates to things that we cannot change from the past, is our ability to see something with a heightened degree of clarity and perspective. That almost allows for that sense of energetic closure or healing to occur, because it is that change in perspective that feels like it's creating that sense of insight. It's creating that sense of understanding. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy right now, deep in the heart of the divine union frequency, that breakthrough has to do specifically with that sense, or the ability to feel that sense of not only experiencing that shared perspective, but also having it shared by the energy around you, because we identified that a lot of the energy in this modality right now, the ability to look back on something with a heightened sense of clarity, is one that is being amplified specifically by the energy through which you have effectively surrounded yourself. That is the energy. Again, we even identified that a lot of that sense of gratitude that was coming through for a lot of the energy deep in the heart of the divine union frequency was almost that moment of looking towards someone and saying like, thank you. And someone being like, for what? I haven't done anything. And someone being like, for being you, for building that sense of being you, because the energy right now deep in the heart of the divine union frequency is seeing the template of the healed counterpart that is building a sense of clarity and perspective in being able to look back at something and heal it, with the understanding that some of those wounds may have occurred around spaces or places where that level or degree of healing had not been reached. That is almost amplifying and reinforcing the mission or the work of a lot of the energy on that healing journey, because that is almost the affirmation of seeing something in a different way that immediately affirms the reason that one engaged in that level or degree of looking at something in the self in the first place. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union right now, this may be happening less on like that higher level introspection point, so much as it is potentially happening right now in the realm of the tangibles. For a lot of the energy right now that is coming into divine union, we saw that that cycle between the Scorpio full moon to the Sagittarius full moon had a lot to do with navigating insecurities, going through those moments, seeing the side of the counterpart that others don't necessarily see. Now, what do I identify as happened in those energies or spaces or places wherein someone is able to see that part of one's own self that you consider the energetic weakness? To have those moments of weakness being held by the counterpart from a place of openness and love and compassion, almost that amplification point of someone looking towards a counterpart and saying something around the affirmation of, there's nothing you have shown me that I do not love. Even in your weakness, I see energetic strength. That is the energy that is also moving forward right now with that vantage point of perspective. And that is difficult because that's creating a space where if the energy is experiencing that for the first time, it may be feeling like the tangibles are what are getting in the way of the strong energetic connection, which is why we see that a lot more of this activation right now for energy coming into divine union has to do in the realms of planning, of laying out those plans, because there's something here that's much more tangible that can arise due to the seeing and feeling that with the finding of the counterpart, it doesn't feel so much like it's moving you off of your path, but it's reaffirming that commitment of moving towards it with more speed and dexterity. So we see even now that a lot of that energy is like feeling that sense of excitement, that momentum that was building towards through the Taurus season is now being amplified by the activation of feeling the energetic commitment of making something emotional tangible. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is in separation, I told you this is one of those moments that was feeling a little bit more like a make or break moment for a lot of the energy in separation. Particularly if we saw during that Taurus season, there was a lot of that sense of momentum building, new energetic connections being forged. And these energetic connections were being forged by viewing the past. A lot of that energy almost building that sense of perspective, that feeling of alignment that was coming into focus in experiencing counterpart energy that experienced and learned the same lessons as you. But that's only halfway. That ability to identify the difference between someone that can take the same energetic lessons as you, but being able to apply them into being able to articulate what one aspires and desires going forward. This is that moment that may feel like a little bit of that pause point, taking a bit more of that wait and see approach. And a lot of that is due to the fact that that ability to recognize, the ability to go look backwards, but also the ability to look forwards. That is what is effectively affirming right now where someone is going to energetically place some of the new connections that they are forging. This could be a lot of energy right now determining if they feel like there's something forming between them and a counterpart that feels more akin to something that may feel closer to a friendship, or something that feels more like that sense of building forth in such a way that you're feeling a bond. But the amplification of being able to articulate what it is that you aspire and desire forward is that wait and see approach effectively that is helping the energy recognize like where they are placing some of the new energetic connections that they are making. Second card in our 5-card spread for today is, it's difficult because there's an abandonment wound here. A lot of the energy that's doing this, and this is why I gotta say, I know that this feels a little energetically fragile right now. Because what did we identify was happening for a lot of the energy in separation right now? What occurs when we push our own envelopes? What occurs when we break out of our own cycles? We recognize that a lot of those moments, that sense of pushing out of our comfort zone, that is that moment that we feel like we need to face, or we feel like we may be inadvertently triggering our abandonment wounds, right? Feminine and masculine in separation. If this is the feminine energy that is affirming their own pathwork or lesson, are insisting that they're not going to build upon the world of assumption with masculine. This is the feminine energy that's reaffirming their commitment and saying, I will not assume that we're moving in the same direction. I need to see a masculine that is able to articulate what that direction is. That can feel very challenging for feminine energy in separation, because I told you a lot of the feminine energy is approaching something with a very loose palm, almost saying, I'm willing to relinquish something if it's not there, rather than moving forward with that space or state of hope and hoping something might be there that I can't see. Why? Because we see that a lot of the feminine energy feels like they got led astray from their own pathwork in the past by building something that was built more in the realm of assumption, as opposed to the articulation of the plans going forward. And this is simply the energy of the feminine saying, I do not build in a place of assumption. I build in a place of clarity. I build in a place of transparency. If there's something that the masculine energy wants to bring forth to me, I recognize and I leave myself open for them to bring it forth, but I'm not going to exist in the realm where I'm hoping and aspiring for the masculine to build that sense of being able to reveal that to me as an accomplishment point. That was a lot of the feminine energy going through that moment. And again, this is very hard for the feminine energy, because this is how the feminine energy is facing and addressing their abandonment wounds in the process. This is the feminine saying, having the masculine reveal their dream to me shouldn't be an accomplishment. It shouldn't feel like a victory. It should feel like an energetic requirement. While for masculine, what we've been effectively seeing is a lot of the masculine energy experiencing and working through your own abandonment wound. If this is masculine energy, that the last path work was based on you effectively recognizing those spaces and places wherein you felt like you received a disconnect because you weren't able to be fully open to the feminine on what it is that you aspired and desired for. The masculine being able to do this is a lot of that feeling of confidence coming into play, because a lot of the masculine energy is working through that fear of revealing themselves by articulating on what their dreams and aspirations are. A lot of the masculine energy almost feeling that amplification point. We see that there's a lot of the masculine energy right now, if in separation, building that sense of reprioritization, particularly in if these were spaces wherein you felt like there was a vantage point in keeping one's options open. You may be recognizing and identifying that when we move in that space or place of keeping our options open, what we're effectively doing is that's that moment that you almost ask yourself, are you moving in a way that you're leaving one's options open, or are you effectively choosing nothing? Right? And that amplification of reprioritization of pathwork for the masculine in separation right now, this is a lot more introspective. This is a lot more introspective, because this is the masculine that's almost reaffirming their own commitment to the self and saying, if I want to build forth with feminine, I must do so from a place of clarity, but I also must do so from a place of authenticity. But that requires me to know myself enough that I know what it is that I want, and I can feel it and I can say that from my chest with a point of confidence and security. So for a lot of the masculine energy, this is very difficult, because this is almost feeling more like that journey of the self, asking one's own self what it is that I want. And if this is a masculine feeling trepidation in articulating that to the feminine, this is almost a masculine immediately not externalizing that, but asking themselves, going, what am I afraid of? Where is that fear coming from? Where is that anxiety point in articulating what that is? So you could almost see that this is creating that space of internalization for a lot of the masculine energy right now. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is going deeper into the heart of the divine union frequency. What did we identify was happening for a lot of that energy right now that can feel very challenging at the same time that it can feel exciting? It's that moment that it feels to a certain degree like you're building something from nothing, right? The energetic equivalent of what you feel between you and the counterpart is so strong that you're recognizing that it feels like you're taking that leap. You're creating something where something is not. And that anxiety, right? That anxiety in doing so, that is almost that moment that it makes you feel that need to be able to confront your fears, to confront your insecurities. We saw a lot of that path work, especially with the amplification point, because that was very chaotic energy of the Sag full moon in combination with the Gemini season coming in. That's that moment that it may have felt like there was a lot coming towards you at once, right? And when we have those moments when an energetic connection starts to build stronger at the same time that the positive creates, so too can all of the anxieties and the doubts and the fears. What are these energies doing right now that are coming into the divine union frequency? Are they allowing themselves to be overwhelmed by what those what ifs were, those negative what ifs? Or are they facing them with a sense? And this is what was so beautiful and magnificent about a lot of the energy right now that is coming into the divine union frequency. That's the energy that's saying regardless. That is the energy that's saying regardless, because a lot of this energy right now coming into divine union is recognizing that this is not energy that is moving towards one another for the sense or the desire of some kind of long-term energetic outcome. These aren't energies that are moving towards each other simply to manifest something that they're not experiencing in the moment. This is the energy that's saying regardless. Not what if. This is the energy that's moving towards each other and saying regardless, 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 right? That's that moment that allows for that amplification of overcoming the fear, because that's that moment they're feeling the same anxiety as the energy in separation. But instead of saying, what if that's happening? What if this is happening? What if this is happening? This is the energy that's taking that leap of faith and saying, regardless, regardless, regardless. While for masculine and feminine energy that is deep in the heart of the divine union frequency, that is the energy that is moving forward in the same way. Because what is the energy deep in the heart of the divine union frequency doing? This is the energetic equivalent of feeling like they're reaching new perspectives in confronting abandonment wounds. Now, what's hard about abandonment wounds is when we confront them, we can't get rid of them. You know, you face them, it doesn't go away. It's not like, oh, I can see it now. Oh, and now it's not there anymore. It's the energy that's learning to navigate through their own abandonment wounds in such a way that they're not allowing the reactivity point to motivate them forward. It's being able to be present, to hold space and experience it from within with a sense of observation. That is the ability that we see that a lot of the energy is doing right now, that's allowing them to confront those things in a different way, because that perspective is being reached and amplified via the journey with the counterpart energy. And that is the energy that isn't doing that. Again, it's not doing it for the sake of another, but the ability to do so in a way that you've healed your own self enough that you're able to confront something in a way that you haven't before. It feels like it is being amplified by the connectivity of the energy that is doing same. Third card in our 5-card spread for today is, we've got here, we love this. Look at this. We've got our Chariot energy coming through. So a lot of this feeling, again, I told you, I know that Taurus season felt like a lot of going uphill. But this ability of empowerment, like a lot of this Sagittarius full moon, just being like a little bit of like a hiya, if you will, like sending something forward in a sense, that is that moment that feels like that sense of empowerment. Because what happens when we're able to address circumstances or situations, we're able to confront our anxieties, we're able to confront our fears. These are energies that are observing and confronting them, and they're not moving away from something. They are motivating forward through them regardless, right? That is the energy that is feeling like that perspective is what is empowering them, because this isn't the energy that is allowing themselves to feel like they're getting caught in those doubts and those fears and insecurities. This is the energy that's recognizing them in themselves and embracing them and moving forward regardless, right? And when we say that regardlessness, that I need to stress, and this is what's really important about that, that isn't energy that's turning a blind eye to those doubts, to those fears. That is the energy that's almost embracing them and saying, we don't wait until everything is energetically perfect. We do what we can with what we have when we have it. And that is what is motivating a lot of this energy right now through anything that may have come up during that process of being able to confront something from the past with a new vantage point or a new perspective. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is coming into divine union, this is that idea. What did we see that was happening for a lot of the energy coming into divine union right now? That ability of saying we're creating something from nothing. like having to change the tangible space, if you will, having that moment of activation, it can feel very triggering. A lot of this energy is potentially even experiencing spaces or places where they may have allowed themselves to self-sabotage previous connections, or they may have allowed their like moments of like anxiety and fear to pull them away. Are these energies pulling away at the time that they feel those insecurities? No. They're coming energetically together. This is the energy that's worked through their own abandonment wounds enough that even though they may feel that sense of anxiety that pulls them away, right? The activation of the abandonment wound at moments that they're feeling that breakthrough occurring. These are energies that are leaning forward. They're moving through it. They're moving through their own abandonment wounds regardless. And that sense of empowerment is not being done blindly, because these are the same energies that have built that sense of trust, not just in how someone holds space for their own insecurities and doubts and fears, because we saw that a lot of these energies are building forward in this way, having built that sense of trust. We were talking a lot about that trust fall yesterday, like last time we spoke, not that moment that says that we have to blindly trust to feel the vibration of love, but building that sense of trust in the fall, that trust fall, that ability of recognizing and identifying that sense of security and saying, I know you'll be there for me in those moments when I am weak. I know that you will be strong. These are the energies that continually experience that, and it continually motivates them forward, because that is that moment that feels like the amplification of trust in the counterpart, in trust of the other, that feels like that sense that says, I'm not moving forward because I know I have to be strong. I know that in those moments that I am not strong, that you will be there to energetically support me, just as I will be there to energetically support you. And these energies are not leaning on one another as they do so. They've built that sense of understanding and recognizing how the other navigates through their own insecurities, their own doubts and fears, that feels like that sense of energetically knowing, that feels like the amplification of someone saying, your energy is like my energy. We move in the same way, i.e. alignment. While for masculine and feminine energy that is in separation, this is what I was talking about that's being effectively a make or break moment for a lot of energy in separation right now, because we've seen that during that Taurus season that we're just exiting, a lot of the new energetic connections that were taking shape, as it were, that were being built on recognizing similarities in relationality to the lessons that were learned in past experiences. This is like that peak moment, like you're standing at the precipice, and all of it needs to be maintained and being able to understand if that perception of the past has been combined with an amplification of one's direction. And so what do we see that a lot of the energy is doing right now in separation? They're trying to identify and articulate the direction through which, whether someone has the direction of moving forward, being articulated in their ability to speak on it, because it's very easy to be caught in that moment of being able to articulate and amplify everything about the past that you have come to understand that would be the amplification of having learned an energetic lesson. But when we have those moments of energetic lessons, it becomes very valuable to understand how one is choosing to apply those lessons going forward. A lot of the energy in separation right now has come forward enough on their own healing journey that they identify that there can be energy that is so caught on the lesson of the past that they're clinging to the past. And that amplification of being able to talk about the past, the way we see whether someone is ready to move forward is through that similarity in being able to articulate what they want going forward. So we see even now that a lot of the energy is just kind of, and there's a little bit of patience here. We see that there's a little bit of patience because there's that identification point and looking towards a counterpart. Both masculine and feminine energy are doing this right now. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, which is trying to identify and say, are you speaking so much from the past because you're caught within it? Are you afraid to move on? Are you holding on too tightly? Or is this the amplification of your own ability to talk about what it is that you want going forward, that articulates that desire of building, moving forward, that's amplified by being able to articulate what those manifestation goals are? Fourth card in our 5-card spread for today is we've got here, look at this, 3, very practical. I gotta say, this energy right now is super practical, especially, this is like a lot of breakthrough for the feminine energy in separation right now, because again, this is more of the feminine energy specifically that is amplifying and articulating. Feminine's ability to observe and identify the potentiality of things is tremendous. Feminine energy is not operating from the state or space of potentiality, rather the facts, rather what is present. This is some of the Taurus season that's still coming in. What is on terra firma? And this is the feminine energy that is building into that sense of practicality. Both of these energies working on that lesson of recognizing that one must be clear. One must be able to articulate what it is that one desires to be able to effectively or energetically build forth from it. For the feminine energy, this is very difficult because I told you this is hard. The feminine energy almost got to have this letting go process to a certain extent, because this is the feminine energy saying, I'm holding on to my manifestation. And this is the feminine energy that's amplifying to the masculine and saying to the masculine, if I can go to the work, if I can do the work of articulating what it is that I desire to manifest moving forward. This is the feminine energy saying, I'm manifesting energy that can do same. This is not feminine energy asking for too much. This is the feminine energy that's reaffirming to themselves and saying, I am only asking for what it is that I myself am providing forward. So this is the feminine energy that's doing a lot of work and being very articulate in terms of what it is that they themselves want, because that is almost the feminine reaffirming to the masculine and saying, this is not something that I'm hoping to achieve by building a connection to you. This is a requirement in order to build forth. While for masculine energy on the healing journey, potentially seeing this in the feminine is either going to feel like a moment that feels like relief. You could see a lot of energy right now that may be moving maybe moving into the divine union frequency because of this, or there's some energy right now that may be going back into introspection. Because for masculine energy right now, this is either a moment if this is masculine energy that is specifically coming out of a healing cycle wherein you recognize and you've been coming into a space of being as authentic and vulnerable to feminine as possible, recognizing and identifying that by building that sense of clarity from the feminine, that sense of clarity is how you build what you want with the feminine. This is the masculine that is seeking that same energetic counterpart that can feel that stability in not only experiencing the truth of the masculine, but almost feeling that same sense of alignment in relationality to what it is that you want to build together. I will stress that a lot of this energy may not necessarily even feel like they're building that sense of commitment to one another right now. This is just the ability to see if something is there, to see if something is present, to make sure that the foundations of something are there through which one can build further. For masculine energy that's doing that work, this feels like a huge breakthrough, because this is potentially the masculine that's taking that energetic risk of articulating to the feminine what it is that they truly desire. That is the masculine achieving that energetic breakthrough in their own pathwork that effectively allows for what feels like a strong foundation to occur, because there's no assumption there. There's no uncertainty. There's just clarity. While for some of the masculine energy and separation right now, this may be feeling like more of a bit of time that you're receiving as it relates to introspection. Because if this is something that you're still experiencing with a sense of uncertainty, this is that moment that you may be going back towards yourself and asking one's own self what it is that you truly desire. All for the sake of staying in alignment with the lessons that you've learned energetically thus far that says, if I'm going to say something towards the feminine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, I better feel it from my chest. I better feel like I'm speaking it from intention, because what I say is what we will create. This is the foundation that I'm building forth from. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Fifth card in our 5-card spread for today is... we've got here our Temperance card. Now, this is what's so beautiful about this. I have to stress, even in separation right now, this is not energy. This is not energy that's rushing in, right? This is not energy that's just trying to seek commitment at all costs. This is energy that is seeking clarity of intentionality and aspiration to determine whether there is the possibility and potentiality to build forth towards one another. And what's beautiful about that right now is we are seeing that that's occurring both for the masculine and the feminine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. There's a lot of energy. I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of energy right now that's potentially encountering each other on this path work, and it may be potentially leading right now to energy that's starting to move into the divine union frequency, because it's the energy that's feeling what happens in that moment, that you feel that security and stability and seeing someone and saying, we're in alignment. We both want the same things. We don't necessarily need to rush it, but that ability of almost articulating upon it, like that sense immediately brings a feeling of a foundation that is forming between you and another energetic connection, because that's not that moment that says like, I demand commitment at this moment, but that sense of building together towards something. That is almost the amplification of the energy that is recognizing someone that feels like they are in alignment with them, because you are approaching it not only from the same perspective, you're not only taking the lessons from the past with you as you go, but you're also reaffirming your commitment in not going back to the past by articulating what it is that you want in the present. Right? And so that ability of doing so, we see even now like a lot of energy and separation, potentially building the groundwork. And it's going to feel slow. It's going to feel steady. It's going to feel more like campfire energy, right? That feeling that like there's something there that feels like it is building forward on, like that continuation of some of that momentum that we may have experienced during the Taurus season. But that is that feeling that comes with it, a point of stability, because this isn't energy that's building off of the assumption that something is going to occur or the hope that someone is going to affirm their desire of what they want with one another. This is the energy that is confirming that in the process. This is like slow and steady, build as you go, but be very clear and specific as to what is occurring to identify what feels like it is moving in a productivity point that allows an ability of looking back at past path work, as opposed to any energy that feels more like they're caught in the past or holding on to something without a desire or determination in growing forward as they go. Masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union. This is the energy that's feeling that sense of just further amplification. And the thing that's interesting about this right now is we saw that a lot of the energy coming into divine union right now, the last month or so, may have felt like a lot of that vulnerability coming forward, seeing sides of the counterpart that others don't necessarily see, being able to see those moments, experiencing those points of a holding space for another's wounds, fears, potentially things that they received outside of the divine union frequency. The ability to hold forth and hold compassion in those spaces and places. This is why there is this like tangibility now that is being navigated in terms of how to build forward on these, because these are the energies that are feeling the anxiety and the fear that they're feeling is what they experience between themselves. It doesn't have tangibility point. So what are these energies doing right now? They're laying the groundwork to build those plans, to take something that they feel is happening between them or has already occurred between them energetically and making them feel more present in the external reality. While for masculine and feminine energy that is deep in the heart of the divine union frequency, we see that ability of feeling that sense of being able to look back on something that you may have been holding a lot of doubt and fear and anxiety on, but having a new perspective that is allowing for that energetic breakthrough. It doesn't feel so much like it's adjusting your own tangible space, so much as it feels like the reward you have in doing your own path work in this time. This may even be feeling like something that you weren't intending to heal, but is almost inadvertently getting healed, specifically just by being in an environment or energetic space that allows you to feel secure enough to confront parts of yourself that you couldn't confront before. And that's that moment that allows for a level or degree of peace, because the healing that is coming through in energy of that equivalent, it doesn't require you to go back and change something. It doesn't require you to effectively make any changes in the moment It's reaffirming your own commitment to the path work, because it is that investment of peace that you're having as it relates to experiences on the path, the past, that is allowing for that amplification of reaffirmation, because you're almost feeling that moment that something that you were carrying, there's a lot more peace in energetically carrying it. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Three of Wands in combination with our Five of Pentacles. One card to clarify, please. Clarification. We've got two cards coming out for today. Between our Ten of Pentacles in its reversal and our Nine of Cups, right? Because what do we see is effectively or energetically happening in these moments, if these are specifically spaces or places that you may have had that hesitancy in being able to navigate prior to this point. For a lot of the energy that's going through that process, looking back on something, it's not creating that sense of something getting energetically better, right? This isn't energy that was looking back on past experiences and looking at something and saying, oh, something got better. In a way, I have to stress this, for a lot of the energy in the healing journey, looking back on something with the clarity of the present may have made something look even worse. But what occurs in those moments wherein we're able to look back on something and we can see it with a clarity that we are able to identify and recognize something that may even be feeling like it was worse the further you get from it. Those are those moments that we see that a lot of the energy is feeling the affirmation in being able to see something with clarity, because the ability to move away from something that was difficult is the energetic breakthrough. And for a lot of that energy, that could be a lot of that energy talking about that moment of having some points in the past being like, I didn't realize how bad it was. I didn't realize how difficult it was when I was there. Everything seemed fine. But this is energy that's moved far enough on their own healing journey that like their own ability to see something and to see just how difficult it was, just how like fundamental it was. It's almost that moment of being like, wow, I feel very blessed to have had to be able to energetically move away from something, because our own clarity allows for a level of degree of healing, because we see that a lot of this energy has been moving a lot of that pain off of themselves with the gift of energetic perspective. And that's hard work, because that moment that you hold compassion for the past, it almost feels re-triggering, right? These are energies that are feeling the re-amplification of just how much they experienced that may have led them to be where they are today. And that's that moment that almost feels amplified in looking at something and saying to oneself, I never would have wished for that to occur. I never desired, I never realized what the adversity I experienced went, because at the time that I experienced it, it felt like it was normal. It felt like it was fine. This is the energy that's gone far enough on their own healing journey that the perspective of being with the counterpart energies, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, that perspective and being able to navigate those insecurities in a way that doesn't feel like it amplifies them, but more just observes them, is how this energy is reaffirming their own commitment to the path work, because that is the reaffirmation of trying to help others share that energetic perspective that can be very difficult to articulate, but can feel very... that one, it's like you can explain it to someone, but until one is at that moment that you can observe it within the self, it may be hard to put into words. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, this is that moment that, again, the energy is experiencing a moment that is hard to put into words, because this is that energy that is feeling that reprioritization point that's happening as it relates to one's own desire and degree of moving towards a counterpart. But why are these energies moving in this way? Is this energy that is changing their own energetic lives for the sake of another? No. This is energy that is almost amplifying and saying, I'm moving towards this energy because there is an alignment to such a degree that it feels like it is amplifying my own energetic healing journey. The difficulty or hurdle that we're seeing for a lot of the energy coming into divine union right now is what may have felt perfectly fine, healing in separation, what may have felt like it was accommodating and able to navigate in separation, now feels like it is becoming the hurdle, now feels like it is becoming the challenge, because now it's like the tangible space is obstructing the energetic priority. While for masculine, but that's something that can be effectively navigated. So what do we see that a lot of the energy is doing right now? They're energetically navigating it via V plans and adjustments. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, in separation, this is that moment of, again, prioritization that is met by clarity, by articulating what one aspires and desires for in the future. There's a lot of the energy in healing right now that is making new energetic connections, but they're also very aware of the idea or aspect of someone being halfway healed, or someone who has done enough of that work of energetic introspection that they recognize and they can value the lessons that have been learned prior to the moment that they may be encountering another energetic potential counterpart. But the ability to amplify and to determine how one is choosing to move forward with those lessons, what one desires of oneself, what one is truly seeking to manifest. Both of these energies right now are doing that work in trying to reveal reveal energetically what that is. And this is both difficult for masculine and feminine energy in separation, because this is that validation point that we saw, that a lot of the energy doing this work right now is recognizing that they're building closure at the time that they are articulating on something in a way that they haven't before. Even being able to articulate on something, I see a lot of the energy in separation, like talking about some of their past experiences and being like, it sounds a lot worse when I put it that way. It sounds a lot worse when I put it that way. Like, that's like the energy that's almost like through the act of communicating, through the act of building those bridges, they're recognizing that they're building closure around those past experiences. So we see even now, this is that energy feeling like that sense of that fundamental lesson that is coming into focus. But it also feels very difficult because a lot of this energy is also doing that work of confronting one's abandonment wounds as it relates to being able to take that next step forward. For feminine, it's holding that point of resiliency. Again, not wanting to build in that pathwork of assumption. This is not feminine energy that is assuming that feminine and masculine desire the same things. This is the feminine energy saying, I'm going to articulate to you what it is that I want going forward, and I'm aspiring and asking you to do the same, because this is the feminine energy that doesn't want to feel like there is a misalignment on account of making an assumption. While for masculine, this is the masculine that's recognizing and identifying that same need in the feminine, and almost feeling that sense, if you're on a healing journey, of wanting to energetically protect the feminine by coming into your own courage, confronting your own doubts and fears. Because when the masculine energy is in a space or place where they can openly articulate to the feminine what their hopes and dreams and desires are, that is the masculine energy that feels that sense of protecting the feminine by showing the feminine and saying, I am someone who is authentic. I am someone that has integrity. My ability to articulate that does not mean that I motivate in such a way that I desire connection with you at all cost. That is one that I want to make sure that we are in alignment. And that is the masculine almost saying, my ability to do so is one that I recognize at that moment that I'm okay with potentially surrendering a connection if we're not in alignment. But that is that moment that the masculine is healed enough that the masculine does not take that as a personal act of rejection if the feminine does not desire the same things that the masculine does. That is the masculine saying, I am seeking alignment with feminine energy that wants the same things I want. So we see even now that a lot of this is that hard pathwork. For feminine, it's more resilient. For masculine, it feels more like an act of courage or bravery. Continuing to get clarification between our Five of Pentacles and our Chariot energy. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Ten of Swords. And this is why it feels so fundamental for a lot of this work right now, for a lot of the energy in separation. I told you a lot of this energy is recognizing and identifying that they're building closure from the past in their ability to articulate and move forward from it. So for a lot of the energy right now, it may be feeling like there's a lot of those past cycles that are reaching that point of energetic closure. in the process of being able to express what one aspires and desires going forward, because that is the energy that's almost amplifying to the new energetic connections that they're making. I'm not waiting. I'm not waiting for something to energetically heal. I am motivated forward by past experiences that I've allowed for a point of closure on. So this is the clarification point that a lot of energy is building at this time to articulate and identify the difference between someone that may feel like they're learning a lot of energetic lessons, but they're not ready to move on from those past experiences, versus the energy that is amplifying a need and desire to move forward, but being able to look at the past in at the same time, right? Like, this is the energy that's almost saying, like, you know, that is the energy that's like doing that like the energy that's healing is looking towards the situations and circumstances wherein they're not burning bridges as they go. They're having that ability of recognizing and saying, I'm taking the lessons from those experiences. I see my own energetic accountability, and I'm also motivating to be able to go forward in a way that feels like it is better. And that is difficult, because that is the energy that is recognizing their own limitations, their own failure points, or what they may have accounted for, that sense of understanding of the self enough to recognize, not just, again, doing that hard work of identifying and articulating what occurred to them versus what they could do better, that is amplified by the combination of those vectors, by saying, this is how I'm taking that and I'm moving forward from it. So we see that a lot of energy right now is effectively, if in separation, building forward, proceeding on, potentially moving into the divine union frequency, specifically because their own ability to articulate upon a past experience from a point of view of being able to identify and almost say, it's already changed, it's already happened, I am no longer that person. That ability of doing so, that is what is allowing that moment of healing. But I have to say, even for the energy coming into or starting to come into divine union from this, it feels very painful, right? Because this isn't energy that feels like that was mindful enough of past experiences, that there was a hope that something better could have evolved from the past. But this is the energy that's able to make space for both, right? This is the energy that is able to move forward and say, with every end there is a new beginning. With every moment, there is that opportunity. So this is the energy that is feeling that ability. It's like the heart expansion exercise, even as some kind of new energetic connection is forming, because it's a reaffirmation of almost saying towards one another on the healing journey, we can't go back to the past. But even if we could, it would not be what it would be, because you are different people in the process. Like, that's that moment that, again, it feels like that amplification of the energy that is reaffirming their commitment towards one another going forward, that is amplified by that feeling of grief at the same time as feeling that sense of opportunity and promise and excitement, and potentially feeling that energetic connection as you're continuing forward on this journey. While for the energy that is, and for some of the energy right now in separation, this could be feeling more like that point of introspection. This could be feeling more like this isn't something that you're feeling immediately in the tangibility point with another person. You may be feeling this more internally, saying, am I ready? Masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union. This is the energy that through the last few weeks, what was happening in that moment of experiencing, what was happening in the last few weeks for a lot of energy coming into divine union is encountering those vulnerabilities, those doubts and fears, potentially even the spaces or places that may have led to separation or led to conflict in the past. But what happens in those moments that instead of having those experiences create those endings, feeling that energy that was like, I don't see anything there I don't like. All of that feeling like the opportunity. That is the energy that is feeling that alignment and relationality to understanding that point of perspective that allows one to see the past from a different context, because that is that moment that almost feels like that karmic release, because a lot of that energy may be experiencing moments that feel very similar to experiences from the past. But what occurs in those moments that we have something that occurs and we do something the way that we did it before because we were moving with intentionality? And in that moment, instead of something that feels like a repetition, we have an energetic breakthrough. That is almost the reaffirmation of our own pathwork, because this is the energy that is feeling that sense of alignment in relationality to potentially experiences from the past wherein something didn't happen because there wasn't that energetic alignment. There was too much of that sense of rejection, of pushing one away, versus the energy that pulls together as they move forward. That is also the amplification of the energy that's been healing in the same way or on the same healing journey. So these are the energies right now that are actually moving much more. I see here a lot of energy moving much more quickly than they expected or anticipated, because they didn't recognize or realize how energetically easy it would feel when you're able to reach that level or degree of alignment. While for masculine and feminine energy that is deep in the heart of the divine union right now, this is that breakthrough of closure that may be being received around experiences or situations or circumstances wherein you may have been holding a lot of grief or anger and frustration. Because if these are modalities that you're able to face an abandonment wound in a way, this is the energy that almost immediately accepts something about themselves in the process, right? And that is the energy that is reaffirming their own commitment to, again, accepting what they cannot change, but being able to observe the past with a point of clarity, that it reinforces and reinvigorates their own commitment towards the future, because that doesn't require us to have been energetically perfect in the past, so long as we're allowing that to move us with intentionality from it, right? And that isn't an energy that is rejecting those experiences. That is the energy that's saying, I am the summation of all of my experiences, and that modality of recognizing that, letting that guide you forward with a sense of intentionality and purpose. That is the reaffirming affirmation of the commitment in allowing that to be something that motivates you in that process of identifying and recognizing what you can do with one's own self that allows for that motivation going forward, as opposed to clinging on to anything that may have felt like it was devastating. Continuing forward on these cards right now between our Chariot and our Three of Pentacles. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now. Page of Cups in its reversal. So I have to say, a lot of this work that we're seeing, that a lot of the energy right now in the divine union frequency is working through, has a lot to do with the understanding of the self. And a lot of the energy, especially a lot of the energy, if looking at spaces or places from the past, it feels, I want to say, there's some deep inner child healing that's happening right now for a lot of the energy deep in the heart of the divine union frequency. And what do we mean by inner child healing? We don't mean just what happened as when you are a child. We mean any space or place where your priorities were not the space that they are now, right? That a moment of being able to look and say, that is a past version of the self. They did not grasp something that I do not grasp. They do not have that same point of prioritization. That ability of almost holding space and compassion for that previous former version of the self. That is where we see even now, a lot of that energy is building forth in that sense of empowerment, because that is the energy that does not, I want to put it this way, it's not that moment of not holding oneself accountable for one's past experiences, but being able to recognize how far one has come from those moments and experiences, that almost amplifies the weight and significance and value of the journey, because that's that moment that almost feels like it is a separate person. You've moved so far from something that you may not have recognized and say, that was a different part of me. That was a different aspect. That was the energy that did not know something. And this is also the energy that's reaffirming their own commitment in helping, in moving forward in such a way that they're trying to, again, bring that same similarity of perspective to those around them, because this is the amplification of the energy saying that the ability to see that and to allow that point of understanding of the self is how we energetically heal everyone around us. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, this is feeling more like that work that we're seeing. That is this is the energy that's just reprioritized. This is the energy that's just reprioritized the connection to the counterpart in such a way that it's requiring a lot of adjustment, potentially of tangibles right now. Because I told you, this is one of those moments that we're seeing that for a lot of the energy, that what may have felt like it was perfectly fine while you were in separation, this moment or modality of now feeling like what felt like it was fine in separation now feels like it's an inconvenience. This is the energy that is getting more serious about putting that into the practical space. Right? So we see even now a lot of plans, a lot of movement, a lot of building forward right now, because these are energies that are reprioritizing and they're making tangible adjustments in the process. While for masculine and feminine energy that is in separation, this is the identification of the prioritization as it relates to what it is you're seeking in relationship. Because we see even now that for a lot of the feminine, and this is going to feel a little different for masculine and feminine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Feminine, again, not building in the world of assumption. If this is the feminine energy that in the past would have felt like having the masculine reveal their desires of what they want in the future to them was some kind of breakthrough or accomplishment, this is the feminine energy saying that's not a breakthrough or accomplishment. That's me allowing in a masculine energy that isn't sure what they want. And they're just kind of like, like that's that moment that the feminine may be identifying and saying, I want to see that same clarity of intentionality from the masculine. It's not something that I need to generate from them. It should just be present from the onset. So we see even now that that's the feminine energy that's looking towards the masculine sooner rather than later to identify and make sure that they are on the same page in relationality to what they want and desire. And that isn't the feminine energy that is requiring that energetic commitment from the masculine. It's almost a feminine energy needing to see and identify if that desire and willingness is there, because that's also a lot of the feminine energy, recognizing that when a masculine energy doesn't necessarily know what they want to build forward with, they might just be kind of looking for energetic company. While for the masculine energy in separation, this is the masculine energy. This is why we see even now that moment of introspection, or for a lot of the masculine energy, this either feels like, I want to say, a breakthrough or a bit of a challenging moment. Because if this is masculine energy, if you are trying to lead forth and build towards feminine from a place of not wanting to have illusions between you, building a place of authenticity, not feeling like you're building around a feminine, but building with a feminine, your own ability to articulate what it is that you want to create is the validating factor as it relates to being able to see if there is alignment there. So for some of the masculine energy, this feels like a huge groundbreaking moment if you're doing this work, because this is that moment that feels like you're coming into a pathwork of maturation and reprioritizing in the ability to be able to speak towards the feminine in this way. While for the other part of the masculine energy, if there's still any uncertainty here in relationality to what it is that you want going forward, this may be requiring a moment of stepping back and more introspection to make sure that you're not necessarily feeling like you're misunderstanding or potentially misleading a feminine in a moment or a place of uncertainty as it relates to what it is that you aspire and desire going forward. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, between our Three of Pentacles in combination with our Temperance card. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with, oh my gosh, double 10 cards out. We've got Gemini season. We've been getting all these double cards out recently. That's the thing. Masculine and feminine energy right now in separation. A lot of energy moving out of separation right now. It's one of those moments. It's one of those modalities that we're seeing, like a lot of this. And what's difficult about this is for a lot of this energy, this is that moment that feels like closure that is being reached around situations or circumstances, specifically because in the moment of articulating what it is that you desire going forward, you recognize and you understand that you're leaving the energetic past behind. That the ability to leave the past behind, the ability to build closure, is by being able to articulate what that path forward is. And we see even now that a lot of the energy in separation is requiring that ability of speaking towards what it is that you truly want, to identify the difference between someone who is ready to take that step going forward versus someone that is still kind of in that space of learning an energetic lesson, but it hasn't amplified into the motivation as it relates to what one desires going forward. The difference here, and this is why we see that there's either a lot of energy right now that's coming together, moving deeper into the heart of the divine union frequency, or I have to say there may be some energies that are ending, like ending some kind of new beginning here, because this is the energy, especially on the part of the feminine, that's basically saying, I'm not, if something here isn't present, if that ability or desire to speak towards the future isn't there, this is feminine saying, I'm not going to wait for that. I'm just going to move away from it. I'm just going to recognize that it's not there. So again, a lot like this is very heavy, right? Because this is the energy of the lessons of the past experience that are motivating the energy to do the difficult thing as opposed to the easy thing. But that also feels like a breakthrough because it's a following of the energetic lesson. And if this is masculine energy that's doing that difficult work in articulating what it is that you want from feminine, you are also potentially feeling that breakthrough because you're feeling the weight of the difference of being able to lead towards feminine in an authentic, clear way that is that path of integrity and intentionality. And that's not, we're seeing here, that's not leading to an energetic signature that feels like it's rushing, but it's almost that weight that's being added to something that feels like the strength and security of something that is building and leading to something that feels like it's very strong and foundational. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union right now, you've already experienced that. You're already ahead of that curve to a certain extent. What's happening for a lot of the energy right now coming into divine union is you're feeling like this energetically. You feel like you have that energetic connection with someone. Now it's just putting all the tangibles into place to match that energetic connection. So we see even now that's not something that you feel like you need to rush. Why aren't these energies rushing? Because these aren't energies that are rushing and feeling like a connection is going to get stronger because you move into a manifestation. We're going to say this again. Manifestations don't change energetic frequencies. So these are not the energies that are saying we need to like move forward in, we already have an energetic connection. We need to move forward and like we need to ground it in reality really quick because that's how we're going to make it stronger. This is the energy that's saying it's already there. We want to make it energy. We want to ground it in reality because it makes it energetically easier. Right? It's not trying to change the frequency. It's trying to just make something easier to navigate that's already present. Continuing to get clarification between these cards right now. Between our 9 of Cups in its upright, our 10 of Pentacles in its reversal, and our 10, we've got 3 10 cards out today, my friends. 3 10 cards. We're only missing one. We've got our 9 of Cups, our 10 of Pentacles in its reversal, and our 10 of Swords. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our 5 of Swords in its reversal. So what are we seeing here? Again, masculine and feminine energy in separation. A lot of this work that we're effectively seeing right now. This is why this time right now, I'm going to say, it can feel a lot of the energy. If this is energy that's coming out of separation or moving into divine union or moving into the divine union frequency, it's probably really bittersweet. It's probably really, really bittersweet right now. It's okay if you don't feel like absolutely joyous in that context. Why? Because this is the energy that recognizes that like with every beginning is an ending. Like with every moment that we move through, we also have to let go of something. So if these are energies that are feeling like they're having that moment of breakthrough, they're moving towards something, it's hearkening back to those spaces or places where they may have aspired or desired that to occur, but it could not. right? That's that moment that feels so painful energetically, but also can feel very fulfilling, because these are energies that are not just doing so blindly. These are energies that have navigated those lessons, and they're implementing and applying those lessons in the present. And even now, that ability to move forward in such a way, it doesn't say that everything energetically went perfect in the past, and that's what brought this forth here. This is the energy that's almost holding that space of compassion in recognizing and identifying the ability to both hold regret for the past, and it's all about ratio. Hold a level and degree of compassion for the past. Hold the opportunity of possibility for the future, but reaffirm the direction that one is moving on the way, right? So this is the energy that's almost reaffirming in separation and saying, while I hold space for the past, while I have the ability to look back at the past and recognize and understand those lessons, I'm also reaffirming through my own ability of talking forth towards what I desire going forward, that ability of saying that I am only looking back to the past for energetic lessons. I'm not trying to return back to it. And that is like the mile marker right now for the energy that feels like they're moving back into the divine union frequency, or the energy that may be feeling that pull or feeling that uncertainty, and almost saying to themselves in the process, I don't know if I'm energetically ready. I don't know if I'm energetically ready to talk about those things, right? And this is why we see even now there may be a lot of energy that is like, if they're seeing that on the part of the counterpart or the new energetic connections that they're making, this could be a lot of the energy saying, well, I appreciate where you are in your journey, but I can't energetically wait for you to decide when that is, because that could be never, right? While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into the divine union frequency, this is the energy that is really, again, that is the same energetic equivalent that we're seeing for a lot of the energy right now, but it feels more like a promise. It feels more like a point of clarity, right? Because that same energy that is moving into divine union right now, you may be feeling that sense of recognizing things that feel very energetically similar to places that you've been in the past. But if these are moments where, and again, you're doing that work of both recognizing what you can change within yourself, while simultaneously like observing that similarity point, it can feel like it's creating that sense of catharsis, especially if these are spaces or places that your own intentionality hasn't changed. You're doing something in a similar way, but you're having those breakthroughs, you're having those experiences that feels like that profound moment of recognizing the difference, of coming into alignment with someone energetically. Because that can be that moment that feels like it's not that everything becomes easier, but if you navigate those points of just like those conflicts or those difficulties or those hurdles in the same way, it almost feels like energetically, again, that sense of validation in moving forward in this way, because that's that moment that builds clarity on what came prior and why it wasn't energetically aligned. Same thing happening for the energy deep in the heart of the divine union frequency right now, but the reaffirmation of the path work for the energy deep in the heart of the divine union frequency is navigating a level of healing to such an extent that a lot of this journey of healing doesn't necessarily require someone to change something on their own path work, but looking back to the past with a lot of focus to make sure that one did not miss a lesson, to make sure that you saw something from a same perspective, because some of these energies right now are having such profound breakthroughs in what they're experiencing in the present, that it's almost demanding or requiring them to reinvestigate experiences from their own past to see if they're learning new energetic lessons from them. So this is like, do you see here the energy coming into divine union is like, don't look back at the past. No, don't look back at the past. But then when you go deep enough into the heart of the divine union frequency, you're like, I can look back on the past all I want, Like that's like that's that moment that feels like it's an easement point, because it doesn't feel like you're being it doesn't feel like it's pulling you back towards it. It feels like it's amplifying your own energetic lessons. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Ten of Swords and our Page of Cups in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Page of Swords in its upright. Masculine and feminine energy, you see, and this is why it feels like such a fundamental breakthrough point for a lot of the energy deep in the heart of the divine union frequency. This is what we were talking about when we said some of that anxiety or fear of not wanting to look back on something. Some of this energy wasn't ready to look back on something because it was felt like it had the power. Like when the past has too much power on us, there's that anxiety or fear of being overwhelmed by it. What is happening right now energetically for a lot of the energy deep in the heart of the divine union frequency? Feeling that energetic strength, feeling that anchor, feeling that sense of being grounded enough in your own healing journey to be able to confront and face something that you may have felt would have been overly debilitating prior to that point. That is that moment that feels like that in itself is a breakthrough, because it didn't create that sense of a trigger. It didn't create that sense of overwhelm. It allows that moment of strength or that feeling of confidence in one's own self, because it's the amplification of saying, I did it once, I can do it again. It doesn't affect me in the same way. It doesn't overwhelm me. I'm recognizing that I can do it, and I can build confidence every time I do. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, this is the energy that's just reprioritized the connection. The connection with the counterpart is one that is like, and I told you, this is not energy that isn't still confronting their own abandonment wounds. It's not the fact that those fears from the past are still there, but this is the energy that is feeling that alignment in such a way that that ability of building trust. This is energy that's been doing that work, slowly building a connection that's like built off that idea of like the trust fall. Those moments of slowly building trust to such an extent, that slow unpacking, that doesn't feel like it's forcing, but that moment of almost like holding space, slowly revealing to one another. And that moment that potentially even in those moments that you may have felt those vulnerabilities, you may have felt like those weaknesses from the past, those fears rising up, having those moments of someone saying, that doesn't bother me. That's not a negative, that's a positive. I mean, that's not perfect, but nobody is. That ratio of feeling someone that you feel is always on your energetic side. These are the energies that feel like they're in such an alignment that it's not that fear isn't there, but it's almost that energy that feels like navigating through those fears together feels like it creates that sense of energetic excitement, because that's the energy saying, I'm not moving towards something for the hope of something that's going to occur. I would move towards you in this way regardless. And what happens when we're moving with intentionality? That moment of intentionality says, well, it might be nice to have a manifestation goal. I'm not doing it for the sake of the manifestation goal. I'm doing this because this is how I move. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, this is more that moment in separation that feels like that moment of looking at new possible connections and saying, are you truly ready to move forward? Is your own ability to articulate and identify the lessons of the past, is that going to be indicative in your own ability to talk forth in terms of what it is that you want in the present? Or does all it show is an ability or an inability to let go of the past? The ability to identify that needs to be mitigated and amplified by an ability of talking forward towards what one does want. So we see even now, like this is that moment that almost feels like, I told you, it's like going over the hill, seeing if someone can go over the hill, being like, it's great that you have such clarity in terms of what occurred, but what do you desire? What direction are you going in? Thank you for telling me where you've been. Where are you going? Where do you desire to go? And that ability to articulate on it, that is what is motivating the energy right now, either to, again, feel the confidence in moving forward, building intimacy energetically with a counterpart, or the energy that may be stepping back if they're not seeing that and saying, I think that there might need to be some distance there for the sake of not repeating an energetic a cycle that is potentially built off of assumption instead of clarity. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Page of Cups in its reversal and our Ten of Wands. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with, oh my God. Do you guys see what I'm seeing here? We've got all the 10 cards out. We've got all the 10 cards out. We've got the 10 of Wands. We've got the 10 of Cups. We've got the 10 of Swords. And we've got the 10 of Pentacles in its reversal. So this is just a lot of energetic closure right now. A lot of energetic closure. But again, a lot of potential breakthroughs that are effectively happening in the process. Masculine and feminine energy in separation. This is simply put the healed energy that is articulating and identifying whether someone is, again, in alignment simply based on the manifestation goals. Like I have to say it, the energy in healing is almost just amplifying to the other energy in healing and saying, you have to be able to articulate what it is that you desire. One's own ability to articulate what you desire is the amplification of being able to recognize the energetic process in relationality to feeling that sense of alignment, right? And this is the energy that's effectively and this is, I have to say, what's really beautiful about this is not energy. There's no energy here that feels like they're trying to force that spring. There's no energy here being like, well, you want this, you don't want that. Well, this is the energy going, everybody wants different things. It's okay to want whatever you want, so long as you're able to articulate upon what that is. One's own ability to be clear and authentic as it relates to what it is that you want helps with the alignment process in terms of recognizing whether you feel like you're moving in the same direction. And this is almost the energy. I need to stress this. This is not energy in separation that's saying that by articulating a manifestation, you're offering it to another, right? You can say to someone, I'd like to go to Disney World someday, but that doesn't mean that you're going with them. But the ability to articulate upon what that aspiration or manifestation is effectively the divining rod that the energy in separation is utilizing to articulate the difference between the energy that may be halfway on that healing process, still understanding what's come from the past but not ready to go forward, versus the energy that is able to amplify it, that is able to put it into words, that is able to articulate what it is that they aspire and desire. And so there's that moment that feels like, again, the energy may be inquiring to one another about what that is, but the energy isn't forcing an answer, nor are they waiting for an answer. They're just effectively seeing if one is there. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union right now, this is the energy that's already there. This is the energy that's already there. This is the energy that feels like the alignment is already present. This is why we see that while there may be a feeling of frustration of the obstructions around a connection, this isn't energy that feels like they need to change the present to reinforce the energetic connection. This is the energy that almost is in the vibration or the feeling of being in the frequency of that connection. Everything else is just a practical hurdle, right? This is why we say you don't move from manifestation to manifestation to change an energetic connection. This is the energy and even this is energy coming into divine union right now that may have recognized that one of the valuable lessons that they learned to this point is potentially having tried to do that in the past. If these were energies that went through experience and says, well, something between me and another individual aren't great, but maybe if we take it up a notch, maybe if we put the sound to 11, it'll get better. Like, no, if you take something that's like out of tune and you raise the volume on it, it doesn't change the sound. It just makes it louder. This is the energy that's recognizing that feeling of energetic union is one that is present. Everything else is finding that adaptability point to navigate through that. While for masculine and feminine energy, deep in the heart of the divine union frequency, this is the energy that is having a lot of breakthroughs, particularly, and I need to stress this, forgiving the past self, forgiving, holding space for the inner child. Because I told you, if these are energies that are feeling like they're reaching breakthrough points and seeing something that they could not see before, simply because being in the presence of both their own energy and also the energy that they've cultivated that is healing around counterpart, then this is the energy that's almost forgiving themselves for anything that they couldn't see prior to this point, because this is the energy saying, if I can see something from a particular vantage point, I can't blame myself if I wasn't here to see it in that way. That's the energy that recognizes and says, like, I cannot fault me. I can hold myself energetically accountable, but I have to have a point of being able to forgive myself to a certain extent, because the ability to see something from a different perspective requires that vantage point. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, between our 10 of Pentacles in its reversal, our 5 of Swords in its reversal, and, our 5 of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Page of Swords in its upright. Those are the correct cards. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our 6 of Wands in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy deep in the heart of the divine union frequency. This is that, I need to stress this. This is what's so beautiful about this. Why is this energy looking back on past experiences now? Because this is the energy that is feeling the validation point. They're feeling like the victory is not in necessarily changing something, but simply the ability, or the ability to face something that they didn't have the energetic courage to face before. Being able to look back on something from the past and not feeling that sense of guilt or blame or overwhelm, having that abandonment wound triggered, being able to look at something objectively, that in itself is the energetic victory, because that isn't energy that's looking back and vindicating. I need to stress this. This is not energy that's looking back on the past and vindicating anything that they did or did not do that wasn't in alignment or accordance with where they are presently. This is the energy that's looking back towards themselves with a level or degree of objectivity and understanding that if they hold themselves to a higher standard, that in itself is the energetic victory, because that is being able to see something that one could not see before. It doesn't mean that one had to be energetically perfect, but that sense of giving oneself a bit of grace and healing in that moment, that is how that energy is almost reaffirming their own commitment that they have become better, because they're looking back to their past version of self and saying, I'm not that person anymore. And that ability of looking back on something with that perspective change, that in itself feels like it is vindicating, because that doesn't say I was energetically perfect in the past. That is that energy that feels like that sense of looking back towards one's limitations is always a source of necessity, because that is the energy that says I always challenge myself to do better. And I do that by confronting those things that I feel I need to confront. Continuing to get clarity on these points right now, for the energy coming into divine union, this is the same exact feeling. If these are spaces or places wherein the energy is having a breakthrough point, this is the energy that's recognizing that it's not just because you found the perfect counterpart. This is the energy that may be saying, if I had met this person prior to this moment, I might not be having that breakthrough, because this is energy that's in alignment. This is like the paradox of it. This is energy that's alignment because they found each other at that time. Being able to navigate forward in that way and experience the things that they experience, experiencing all of the setbacks. That is that moment that we say to one another, it's not that I wish that any of those things happened to you, but I also recognize I cannot take any of those things from you, because all of those things shaped who you are today. And that is that energy that feels that sense of love and compassion towards one another, because that is the energy that looks towards one another. And we saw over this last cycle, this is the energy that says, it's not that you're perfect, but even in your imperfection, I see who you are and I see who you move, and I feel like I am in alignment with you. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is in separation, this is the energy that needs to see where someone is headed. This is literally just a lot of the energy in separation saying, it's really good to hear where you were. Where are you going? Where do you want to go? We just like a lot of energy over the Taurus cycle, maybe potentially talking about the past and building that energetic bridge. But now it is the amplification and saying, do you know what you want? What does the shape of that look like? This is an energy that's seeking commitment there. That is seeing if the ability to release the past by articulating where you want to move forward is being amplified by the ability of the counterpart or the new energetic connections in order to speak what that is. And that is the energy that isn't waiting around and saying to themselves, well, maybe if I wait long enough, someone will build that sense of ability, because this is the energy that's reminding themselves and saying, when we have a desire, when we have a manifestation goal, it's not that moment that we say, well, if I meet the right energy, anything can happen. I don't really have a plan. I'm just waiting to see what pops up. This is the energy that says, well, no, you have to know what you want if you want to find it. And so that's just the energy saying, just not building upon assumption, but just looking to see if someone is motivated by that same sense of energetic purpose. While clarification between our Page of Swords and our 10 of Cups. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Knight of Cups. I'm going to tell you right now, I'll put it this way, for a lot of the energy in separation, there's a lot of clarification that is potentially being reached in relationality to where someone is sitting in one's own field of relationality, right? Because as long as there is clarity, I'm seeing it now for a lot of the feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, as long as there is clarity from the masculine energy in relationality to what it is that they want and what they aspire for. This is the feminine energy feeling the safety and security of building forth with masculine energy in such a vector that they will inhabit or be a part of the feminine energy's experience, because that is the feminine energy that sees the masculine, that is able to articulate from a place of vulnerability, authenticity, and integrity. So even if there isn't alignment there, there is alignment, because that is the feminine energy. It says this is a healed masculine energy. This is an energy that the feminine sees some kind of future with. They see some kind of path work forward on, because this is the feminine energy looking towards a masculine and saying, this is someone that is doing the energetic work. And it starts with the ability to articulate from a place of authenticity and relationality to what they feel and experience in a way via protecting the feminine energy through that pathwork of integrity. While for feminine masculine energy, this is also that moment that we see that a lot of the masculine energy right now is, again, building forward in new energetic connections, having that breakthrough point, but being facilitated by your own courage. And for the masculine energy, being able to articulate on what that is feels like a massive courage, dose of courage, because that is the masculine energy that feels like the accomplishment point, especially if this was masculine energy that was giving themselves the commitment or personal commitment of saying, I'm going to lead forward to feminine with authenticity. As long as I am authentic, I know I will find the energy that is aligned towards me. So we see even now that a lot of that is energy is having breakthroughs. And even, I have to stress this, even if these energies aren't in alignment as it relates to their manifestation goals, we see that there's a lot of energy right now that may be trying to come into that point of accommodation and saying, oh no, we're still going to be a part of each other's lives because you are someone I see and recognize and trust, knows what it is that you want. And that's that moment that always leaves the possibility of being able to build forward there. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now, a lot of that path work, a lot of that work that we're effectively energetically seeing to a certain extent, this is the energy that feels like they've already found it. This is the energy that feels like, anything else that happens beyond that, it feels like gravy, because what happens when you feel like you're in alignment with someone energetically, the rest is just the tangibles. Masculine, feeling that security of being openly authentic to the feminine, and the feminine being resilient enough to accept the masculine in this modality. These are the energies that are in alignment, because that is the energy that almost says to one another, it's not that everything needs to be energetically perfect. But that's the energy that feels like the commitment towards the prioritization of the connection, and the counterpart is one that you feel that sense of being able to manifest that perfection come what may. While for masculine and feminine energy, that is deep in the heart of the divine union frequency, this is just a lightening. This is a lightening of an energetic burden. And that is the energy that both of the energies right now deep in the heart of the divine union, it feels more like a personal sense of accomplishment. The ability to face something in a way that you couldn't before. For feminine, it feels like that act of energetic resilience. For masculine, it's that moment of feeling energetic empathy towards something. And both of these are reaffirming that path work, because not only are they experiencing something in the present that is strong, but they're starting to feel like it's having an impact even on their past experience, simply in the way that they're able to perceive it. That's how we can change the past. Sometimes we change the past built upon our own perspective and understanding. And so we see even now a lot of the energy deep in the heart of the divine union is healing something from the deep past by being able to perceive it with this heightened degree of resilience or compassion. Final card for today's spread between our Six of Wands in its reversal and our Knight of Cups in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Knight of Pentacles in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy right now, deep in the heart of the divine union frequency. This is the extension or the expansion point in relationality to being able to heal wounds of the past. And it's requiring that moment of being able to perceive something in a way that was different from the time that you may have energetically experienced it. And it is having a different impact on masculine and feminine. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. If this was masculine energy that is holding a higher degree of compassion, looking towards wounds that occurred in the past, via healing their connection to feminine. A masculine that has come into enough of their own emotional capacity to feel something in a way that they couldn't feel it before. This is masculine energy that is bringing that sense of clarity towards some of the other masculine energy around them. Almost holding that space of compassion, looking towards the masculine energy that they may have felt was never taught to do so. Right? That's almost how the masculine energy is healing their own path work, because the masculine's recognizing how difficult this may have been, if not in union with feminine, because that's that moment that it feels like it wasn't something that could be taught to you, or it may have been the wrong energetic lesson. While for feminine, this is the same. For the feminine energy, your own ability to be with or around counterpart energy, having that moment or observation point, that sense of what the healed masculine energy looks like, it's building your own sense of energetic resilience, because it's helping you re-identify and articulate experiences from the past wherein you may have overly internalized something that was energetically happening to or around you. Masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union right now. A lot of this work we are seeing is the equivalent of the energy. This is the energy, I want to put it this way, like this is the energy like coming into divine union that feels like you don't need to put a ring on it, because like it's like what you feel is there. What you feel between you is not something that you need to like ground in the present. It's something that exists. That's why we see even now, this is the energy that's just like feeling like more creating places or spaces of making this tangible. Feels more like an inconvenience. Because this isn't that moment where the energy around something feels like something only exists at the time that they make it solid. It just feels like something that you need to do to describe what is happening that is indescribable, right? While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is in separation, a lot of this work has to do with being able to articulate the difference between coming through halfway healed. which is understanding and learning the lessons of the past, but being able to put them into practical application as to what you want going forward. For masculine, this is going to feel like more of a moment of energetic confidence. And if the masculine energy is approaching the feminine at this time, uncertain as to what that is, this could be a lot of masculine energy self-correcting and saying, I can't approach feminine unless I'm clear on what it is that I desire and aspire. So we see even now that this is either masculine energy going back into that moment of like reorienting to think about what that is, or this is masculine energy overcoming that hurdle, overcoming that challenge, pushing their own envelope and reaffirming to themselves, again, that point of identifying and saying, when I tell feminine energy my manifestation goal, it doesn't mean that I'm committing it to them. It means that I'm offering that ability of helping them decide if they want to build forth with me, right? Like that's the thing that the masculine's healing now, that sense of saying, when I tell the feminine what it is that I desire, I'm not necessarily offering it to them. I'm leading forth in a way that I'm making them understand that I consider them like a partner in that. And so we see even now that that's a masculine energy that's healing their own self in reaffirming and reestablishing an energetic connection with feminine from a place of clarity and authenticity, as opposed to feeling like it's something that they have to offer the feminine. While for feminine energy, this is that moment of healing their own path work in the sense of identifying and saying, I'm not going to build in a world of assumption. I'm not going to feel like my accomplishment or victory is a masculine that offers to tell me what it is that they want going forward. This is the feminine saying, that is not an aspiration. That is a requirement in which to build. So we see that both of these energies right now, healing from past experiences, but it feels difficult because it requires that moment of resiliency and almost having that point of saying, almost, and even now, saying better to energetically risk the potentiality of a growing connection than build upon assumption in a way that doesn't feel like it's necessary, that may lead to us moving in oppositional directions without recognizing it. So these energies are pushing their own envelopes, but doing so in a way that feels more the most practical and productive, even if it feels like even if it feels like something that you haven't done before, as it were. Bottom of the deck, 3 of Swords in its reversal. So, one of the challenges that we're effectively seeing here has to do with the fact that everybody's on this healing journey. And it's hard, right? It's hard when you're healing, because we see even now a lot of that mindfulness that is happening, especially for a lot of the energy that is in separation, is recovering and healing from experiences from the past. I have to say, a lot of the energy in separation is being very energetically mindful of the fact that they are healing potentially from past experiences or past connections. So that sense of mindfulness, I will remind you, while it doesn't require us to throw ourselves into things, there is a moment that we have to recognize that we're never entirely energetically healed from past experiences. If anything we've seen here, even the energy that is deep in the heart of the divine union frequency is still healing from stuff. Like that ability of healing is never necessarily over. So for a lot of the energy right now in separation, that moment of saying like, am I ready? Is not necessarily one of asking oneself if you're healed, but more if you're ready to move into a different step on the healing process. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, this is that moment that your prioritization point is such so that the energy that you're moving towards via the counterpart is your healing, right? And that is that moment that feels, it feels like the prioritization is changing, because that's that moment that it doesn't feel like the healing journey is ending because you're coming into connection with a counterpart. It feels like it's amplifying it. It feels like you're just continuing forward on that work. And the ability to want to take on the burdens of the counterpart, having those burdens become your own, like that is something that almost feels like a heart expansion. It can feel a little overwhelming. While for masculine and feminine energy, deep in the heart of the divine union, it's not so much that you've healed something, but you've moved it, right? Because for some of this energy, recognizing that there's some experiences from your past you can't change, they still hurt. Seeing them in a different way doesn't necessarily make them hurt less, but it does change what you're trying to heal. That is our daily collective read for today. I would like to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, Strega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber name at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. Also, just a couple of updates for today. First and foremost, thank you to everybody who attended our last tarot class on the Magician. Love teaching that class. Our next tarot class will be on Wednesday, June 16th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern, and that class will focus on the High Priestess. All you need to do to become a part of those classes is become a paid subscriber to my Substack, graystrega.substack.com. Your subscription will grant you access to each month's live classes, as well as the course materials and recordings for all of the previous classes. So if you were not attending those classes, you still have a full month to catch up. Because the classes are interconnected, it's really good to be able to make sure that you've got that baseline as we continue forward on the journey. Also, if you become a member of those classes, you will also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students where you can ask any questions in relation to anything that we are learning. Also, if you become a founding member to my Substack, not only do you get access to the full year's worth of classes at a discount, but you will also receive a free one-on-one mentorship class with me, wherein we will assess and review where you are in your own tarot journey, and I will give you insights on how to best use the classes effectively, as well as some insights on how to proceed forward on your own journey. One of the things I really tried to do with these classes is make them such that they were useful to both the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something for everyone. So thank you to everybody who's already joining me in those classes, and I look forward to seeing you at our next class. And even if you do not become a paid subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to be able to stay abreast of any new events, opportunities, offerings that we may be providing. You'll also receive a weekly newsletter where I give you my schedule for the week in terms of the daily collective reads. Second, I want to let you guys know that we are currently having a new giveaway. Thank you to the individual who won last month's. This month, we are giving away not one, but two readings. All you need to do to become a part of that giveaway is head over to the link in my bio. There is a 2-minute travel survey there. By filling out the travel survey, you will get an entry into the giveaway for a free 15-minute tarot reading. Also, though, this month, whoever wins that drawing, I will be asking who referred them to take the survey. And I will be giving out a second tarot reading to whoever asked who referred them. So if you've already taken the survey and would like more entries, all you need to do is take that survey link and send it to a friend who you might also think would be interested in taking a tarot themed retreat. Again, thank you guys so much. This is helping me cultivate and create a very unique experience for all of us. I have a few ideas on where I might want to go on these tarot retreats, but I really would like your insight. So thank you so much if you've already taken the survey, and I wish you the best of luck in entering and winning that giveaway. Finally, we've got a couple new offerings I am offering my clients based on your suggestions. First and foremost, I'm now offering mentorship classes. Those mentorship classes are very limited. I can only take on a certain number of students, and they can be purchased either on an individual level or on a monthly basis. Those mentorship classes are oriented on your own particular desire of an interest in relation to tarot or spirituality. And if you buy a full month's worth of mentorship classes, you will receive, there is a discount. Second of all, if for those clients who are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to be offering weekly tarot insight packages. These are a group of 4 tarot readings that you can purchase at a discount that will allow you to effectively have more consistent weekly support on your journey. Again, I want to thank you guys so much to everybody who's already signed up for these. I'm recommending a lot of this work I'm doing because of your own suggestions. So thank you so much, and I look forward to being able to offer these services to you. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing with me in these readings, and we will do this again